Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining. We'll be starting shortly in a minute or so. Hey Yojasvi, I think we can start, right?
Yes, absolutely. We can start. I hope people will join soon if they want to. But yeah, we can definitely start the session. This session is about uh, resume, building your resume, what are the necessities that you should include in your resume, how what you should not do in your resume, and how can you improvise on your resume. At the same time, in this session we'll also get some quick tips for using LinkedIn efficiently and in order to endorse our profile in future. At the last, we'll also review some of the resumes that were submitted to us through that form, and we'll see and get to learn about how can we build ourselves a perfect resume. So we have today Vani with us. She's a very experienced undergraduate student. She has applied to so many opportunities. Thus, she has a fair idea of how to build applications better. So I would quickly invite Vani to introduce herself.
Way for the great start. And hello, everyone. I'm Vani Chitkara, and I'm an upcoming intern at Microsoft for this summer. And I have been an outreach intern in the past for the last year. So, in the May 2021 cohort, I interned with Open Archive through Outreachy, and also I'm the club lead of GDSC IGTW, that is the Google Developer Student Club. Also, I have worked with a lot of societies and stuff. So yeah, let's get started about the resumes. So most importantly, the things that you have to keep in mind are the don'ts in a resume rather than the do's, because the don'ts are the ones that get highlighted the most. So if you do these small mistakes, your resume would be, rejected in a minute or so. So the things that are very important is that keep your resume concise and according to the role that you're applying for. Because most people, what they do is they create a single resume and then they keep submitting the same resume everywhere, be it for a scholarship, be it for an internship, be it for a fellowship. But the thing is that the resumes for these three kind of events should be very different, because in internship, like if suppose you're applying for a technical role, your resume should be catered to the profile that you're applying for, right? So in a technical resume, there should be projects highlighted and your skills should be highlighted in. And if you have a certain position of responsibility or experience that shows that you have a experience in the technical field that you're applying for, do mention that, and don't mention anything that is not relevant to the profile that you're applying for. Let's suppose if you have been an HR coordinator or an EM coordinator or so, and then you're applying for a technical profile, you are advised to remove those things from your resume. And let's suppose if you're applying for a scholarship, in that case, in addition to your experiences and projects, you should definitely enter your volunteer experience and your positions of responsibility, even if they were not technical. Because in scholarships they usually see that the person should have, all round capabilities. So in addition to the technical capabilities, people do see that if they take part in extracurricular activities or they do have soft skills or not. And same for this fellowship, because like if you are applying for a fellowship that focuses on tech and humanity, so your positions of responsibility should be about the things that like that have a human touch. Like let's suppose you have worked as an HR, so you can add that in the fellowship. And also if you have some voluntary experience in working on an NGO or teaching children, so you can add to that fellowship resume, because they're finding people who care about technology as well as humanity. So these ways you can cater to different people and the resumes that they ask for and change it accordingly. Also, it's advised that you don't keep your resume more than one page, because when an interviewer or a recruiter goes through your resume, they just see for a split second, and if they find a catchy word, then they'll stick to your resume, else they'll just keep it and pass it on. Okay, the next thing is that the font size and the style should be appropriate and professional. So in the start, many juniors do this mistake that they keep the font size very big and use very like what do I say, very
Unformatted
flashy
kind of,
colors.
yeah.
Yeah, very flashy colors they use.
All right.
So it's advised to keep your resume in form of monochromatic style and use only three colors at max, like white, black, and blue. And no other color should be
Right.
used in that to make the resume look very professional. And also the font size should be optimum. So it's like the font size should be 12 for the content that you're writing, and the font size should be 14 for the headings you're writing. Also,
Right, right.
now
Also, just a head on, Vani. Sorry to interrupt. I forgot to mention that you all can enter your doubts and your questions while Vani is sharing her thoughts in the event talks channel, wherein we'll take them up at the last. So Vani, you can go ahead, and also we can share that pictures of some bad resume ideas if you need right now.
Oh, yeah, sure. That would be great if you can share in some pictures, because that would be very easy way to explain that what should not be done in a resume. So now going section wise. So when you make a resume, so the first section should always be education for a fresher. Like let's suppose if you're in first and second year or third year and you're applying for an internship or scholarship, then the first section should always be education, and you should clearly mention your CGPA. Because if you don't mention your CGPA, the recruiter might think that okay, this person might not have a good enough CGPA to mention, and they might reject you for it. Also, next to the education part, also in education you should first write about your college, and then about your class 12th grades, and then about your class 10th grades. Do mention the year of graduation. Also, next should be projects instead of experience. I'll tell you why. Because as a fresher, they don't expect you to have much experience, but they do expect you to have 3 4 projects that are on a good level. So mention your projects first, and also do mention what the project does and the tech stack it uses. Don't mention random information. Like one resume I just saw right now, it had a project name snake game, so it was telling that what snake game actually is. I mean, like everyone knows what snake game is. We don't need that kind of arbitrary information in a resume. So keep your resume very concise and only write the information that is required to be seen by the recruiter. The recruiter doesn't need to know what snake game is, but they do need to know that what tech stack you know, and what tech stack you have used to build that game. So after, and also do mention the deployed link and the GitHub link to your project, because these two links are very important. The recruiter can see your code base and how you write a code. So your code should be very clean and should be having good indexing, and also it should be it should be using concepts of oops and should not be very messy. And next we should have experience. Like if you have any internship experience in your third year or fourth year, then you should definitely mention that. But if you are giving a resume for your technical internship and you have experience, let's say of a content developer, then that is of no use and you should refrain from mentioning that. Only add the experiences which are relevant to the profile that you are applying for. And next, you should have your positions of responsibility. And like I explained before, only add those positions which are relevant to the role you're applying for. Like, let's suppose if you're applying for a scholarship, then you can definitely add your non-technical positions of responsibility as well. But if you're applying for a technical internship, then only add those positions of responsibility that are technical in nature and shows that you have contributed in that tech stack that you are applying for. Next should be your skills. And in skills, just don't randomly go on mentioning C++, Java, and all. Categorize them. Also, what people do is a lot of people give stars or ranks to how much the language they know. Don't do that, because you might think that okay, you know C++ on a very good level, and the interview might ask a question that would, like, catch you off guard. So don't rank your own skills, and also do a good bifurcation of it. Like, let's suppose when you write your skills, first mention languages, then write C++, Java, JavaScript, and so on. And don't add Node.js or React.js in that, because they are not languages, they are frameworks. So next category could be of frameworks, in which you can add Node.js, React.js, and like, let's say Django and so on, because they're all frameworks. And then you can write databases that like MongoDB, SQL, whatever you have learned. And then you can write miscellaneous, in which you can write HTML, CSS, and so on. Like Bootstrap, GitHub, like Heroku. So these things come in the miscellaneous category. So this is how you should bifurcate your skills. And the last thing that should be on the resume is the achievements. So achievements usually should be of technical nature only.
Vani, I just thought I'll take a second. A lot of
Yeah,
people
sure.
here are from first and second years. I think it's important to repeat that point. What's the difference between a language and a framework, and how one should separate those, and what is a tech stack? I think we can answer these questions as well.
So I'll just tell you like what a tech stack is. Like, let's suppose if you're learning web development, then you use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then React.js for the front end. So this can be called your tech stack. Like, I'm a front end web developer, and this is my tech stack. I use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then React.js. And the difference between JavaScript and React.js is that JavaScript is a language. So a language has its own syntax, and what a framework does is it reduces the length of the syntax. So a framework helps you to build the applications easily, because a lot of code in the backend is written by the one who makes the framework, and you just need to add your own things. Like, let's suppose you are using React and you are using typical vanilla JS. The difference between those two is that a lot of things you might not need to specifically write in React JS, because they're already pre-written as a framework, right? So this is the difference between the two. And yeah, I was talking about achievements. So the achievements is that you should definitely put up your coding profiles and the ranks that you have achieved there. And if you have a very good ranking in one of the coding platforms, do mention that. And if you have won a hackathon or an ideathon or something that is related to like a certain technical stack, okay, so you need to mention those things. And if you're applying for a scholarship, like, that's not certainly catered to the technical part, so you can write your achievements, like if you have participated in an inter-school or an inter-college competition, like let's suppose debates and extempores, so you can mention that things as well in the achievements if you're not applying for a technical position. So, like, a lot of people might have heard of ATS, which is the software through which your resume goes in before the recruiter just gives a look to your resume. So a lot of companies do use ATS, some don't. So I'll tell you how to get a good score on your ATS so that your resume gets shortlisted. So the best thing to do is that keep your template very easy to read. Don't use fonts and that are not very readable, and also use templates that actually read your resume very easily, and don't mix up the words. Because, like, let's suppose if you're using a double column resume instead of a single column one, so when you scan your resume through ATS using a double column resume, it might get jumbled up. So it's very advisable for first and second year people to keep your resume a single column one. You can just google it up, the difference between the two, and you'll understand that why single column is preferred. And use power words and action verbs in your resume. Like, instead of saying that I took this session or I did that, write that I led this session, I incorporated this, and I suggested this, And also do mention statistics in your resume. Like, let's suppose you are saying that, okay, I implemented this feature which increased the efficiency, but by how much? If you add that number, that makes your resume very strengthful, right? So if you say that you have increased the efficiency by 20% or by 30%, those numbers add a very good impact on your resume. So so the interviewer would actually see that, okay, you did something which increased the efficiency or increased the impact, and you are mentioning that number. So including numbers is very important, and do highlight those numbers. Also, you can always Google what the action verbs and power words you can incorporate in your resume. And there are a lot of softwares through which you can pass your resume and check that what the ATS score is. So you can do that always, and you can always approach a senior to check your resume, because a lot of people misspell things. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
think we can short activity, Vani. Let the audience type in a few power words and let's just go through that in the event talks channel. What do you think?
yeah, that would be awesome. Like, I would get an idea that what do they actually understand by power verbs and action verbs.
Right. So, guys, we have an event talks text channel. Would love to hear your thoughts. Let's start typing. What do you think are best power verbs and action verbs?
You can also type in the don'ts of a resume. Like, what do you think should not be in a resume? Because whatever you will write, we can discuss further on that.
Yeah, so we can do that. I'll share one picture of a resume, and kids will tell what is going wrong in this resume.
Yeah, that would be great,
All
because
right.
then I
So
can see that what all they understood by.
yes. So this is I shared an earlier. So this is the second one. What's going wrong in this resume? This is about the point Vani recently mentioned.
Oh, people are writing.
Yeah. Yeah, we see double columns, and we also see it if you read what the profile says, you will see that the bullet points of the work are not impactful. They are just giving us an idea of an overview, and even mentioning unnecessary tasks that the person has done in their position of responsibility. So there is no quantifying impact of their work, and there is no technical addition to that, technical background to that. Another very simple mistake coming up.
It's like a revision task for you all.
Yeah, it is. It has multiple pages. Vani mentioned it should be limited to just one page, especially these days when we have so many people applying to jobs.
Yeah, it's like, don't
Exactly.
write Ramayan in your resumes. Keep it very concise.
Absolutely. All right, look over this resume. What is the first thing come to the mind that exactly
There you can
font?
mention your certifications. You definitely should.
Unprofessional font, exactly. Again, the font should be very clear. The color palette should be very decent, very limited. We cannot, if we talk about building a resume for engineering and technical jobs, we cannot really incline ourselves towards exploring the creative side that we have.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
There's a lot of disturbance from your side, background noise. Okay. So, yeah, exactly. I think wonderful noticing. I think, Vani, you can go over the responses as well in the chat.
Yes,
And
yeah, I'm just seeing some questions as well.
yeah,
So
I
hi
think
Mahima. If you don't have any projects or achievements, what I suggest is that in being in a first year, you can definitely, build up your skills and put in the certifications that you're doing right now. Like, let's suppose if you're doing a coding course, then you can put up that. And also, there's a website called Free Code Camp, You can go over there and learn the languages and then get the certificate for that. You can put those certifications because Free Code Camp is a very good website and you'll thoroughly learn through that, like web development or DBMS, whatever you want. You can practice there. So you can put those certifications in. Also, as a first year, you should try taking part in small coding competitions and hackathons. So if you win there a prize or a category prize, you can definitely mention that as well. So in your first year, you should not limit yourself by thinking that, okay, I don't know this skill yet or I don't know this language yet. Just go on and explore the unknown, and maybe you can win something and then you can put that in your resume.
Vani, we have a question from Manvika. She is a second year student. She asks for a second year student what to write under the experience section if you don't have much experience.
Is that if you don't have any experience, rather not put that column in, because if you put anything irrelevant, that might be off putting for the interviewer or the recruiter who's seeing the resume.
Right. And we have another question from Vashitwa. How many projects can be mentioned from one technology?
It's not bad that if you have all the projects from the same technology, because that shows that you care to develop your skills further, because a lot of people have projects which are of various domains. So they try to show the recruiter that they are jack of all trades, but usually when you do a job, you are supposed to be, very proficient in one of the tech stacks that you're doing. So it's all right if you have the projects in the same tech stack only. It doesn't matter at all. Like all my projects are of web development, and the recruiter or the interviewer never asked me that why are all the projects of web development, so it doesn't matter.
Right. We have a question from Daria. He asks, should we mention certifications in resume like those from Coursera or Coding Ninjas?
Definitely you should, if you have put honest work in getting those certifications, because a lot of people do is that they copy the code or they just see a guided path on YouTube and then they get those certifications. But if you can explain that what all you learned while doing that certification, you can definitely put that.
We have a question from Archit. He asks, is the BSc course for data science by IIT Madras worth doing?
No idea about that, but it's like if you're interested in data science, then definitely go for it if you can manage doing a BSc along with BTech. But if you're not interested in data science, then I'd say that it's not worth it, because you are increasing your burden where, like, in the meanwhile you can do different things instead of going for data science, even if you're not interested in it, right?
Right. We have a question from Manvika. She asks, can we put mentorship programs and mentorship programs under experience section?
I'll say to put it under the positions of responsibility, that you were a mentee, which was your responsibility, and you successfully completed that mentorship as a mentee. So put it under the positions of responsibility part.
Correct. That's pretty correct. Push asks, what should we include in the description of a project, and should we make bullet points?
Definitely make bullet points, because it's difficult to read paragraphs in a resume. And the first bullet point should be about what the project does, and the second bullet point should be about the tech stack. Like, let's suppose I made a project on, it was a e accountancy for for small level shopkeepers and manufacturers. So my description for the project was that what what was the name of the site, that this website is for dealers and shopkeepers to maintain their records on online records. And the second description was of the tech stack that we use: HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, JavaScript. So that's how you can make bullet points.
Wonderful. And we have, I think, last question from Anushka. She says course certifications under which category? Can you repeat? Such as Coding Ninjas or Coursera.
You can category name certifications, but it should be under the achievements category, because these things matter the least when you are having a very good resume. So you can put the certifications at the last after you write your achievements.
Right. So I'm just writing that. So it should be under certificate. It should be under what exactly, Vani?
Under the
Achievement.
achievements column, like it
Achievements
should be the last thing in your resume.
at the end. So should not be a priority to show. Got it. I think we have a few other questions coming in. Um, so yeah, I think we're good to go with the certain questions. Guys, keep putting questions here, and we'll keep answering them in between. Ojasvi, let's get back to the bad resumes. Yeah.
Also, I remember there was a question about resume templates. So I just want to say that there are a lot of places that you can look for a template. Choose the one that suits you and can incorporate everything that you have to write in a resume. So templates are available on MS Word if you want to find, and there are templates on Canva. Canva has really beautiful templates, and they make a resume look very professional and very concise. And also, people use latex to write their resumes. Latex is a document preparation system used for typesetting technical documents. So it's like that if you write research papers or resumes, you can use latex. It's like, just like you learn Markdown and GitHub, you need to learn latex as well. So I'd say that if you are in a hurry to make a resume, rather not make it by latex, because it's gonna take you some time to write with latex. So you can go on with Canva or MS Word templates because they are also very pretty concise and very well made.
Yeah, I think that's amazing advice. Thanks for that, Vani. And we have, I think, a resume, which is a tricky one. I think Ojasvi has shared in the chat. Guys, would you think probably what's wrong
Yeah,
with
this is a fun resume. I mean, this is very much related to a real life problem I saw. I mean, when I was mock interviewing someone, so their resume matched one thing which is wrong in this resume.
Anushka says keywords are not highlighted. All right.
All right, all
Anushka, do you
right.
think the keywords are good to go in a resume?
Alpha says the
Okay.
relevant point in the dedication.
Okay. I'll give a quick clue. Just read through the content, and
Anushka
you'll laugh.
says that it's objective. Anushka again says like the important points, numbers I believe are missing. Okay.
Oh,
Um,
exactly.
League
Alpha
of
got it right.
Legends.
League, League of Legends.
Yeah.
This person has mentioned their addiction to gaming in their resume. In the real life, I have seen one person mentioning Netflix binge watching as their hobbies in the resume, which I believe is wrong to do so if you are in a very professional and what can I say, serious situation. But then again, if you mention that, then the interviewer asks, and similarly I asked them that. Like you mentioned Netflix binge watching as your hobby, how does it contribute to your personality? How does it help you? So they were quite witty to answer. They told me that by watching several hours of Netflix and binge watching, I'm able to complete engineering syllabus and playlists in one sitting.
Quite a good skill that they have, but very
Amazing.
irrelevant.
Very relevant and very unprofessional, but I don't know. The main point is for hobbies, you should basically write creative or hobbies that incline to the position you are again applying for. As Vani mentioned earlier, stick to things that you're applying for in your resume.
Yeah, and it's advised to not write things like languages or your hobbies in a resume that you're submitting for an internship, because those things don't contribute to what you wanna showcase to an interview, right? So if you are giving your resume for a fellowship or a scholarship, then you can definitely write about your hobbies, and which like voluntary hobbies that you can write about, which shows that you have a very holistic personality. So in a scholarship, in a scholarship resume, hobbies and languages are good to go, but in technical resumes, that should not be there.
Alright, I believe this is the last one before we move on to live resume reviews. This is again a very easy one. I mean, this is a basic mistake. No one can afford to do that.
Hey guys, would love to hear your thoughts on the chat. You can type in what's wrong with it.
Quite evident it is once you read through it.
Spelling. the spelling is wrong. We
Yeah.
see we see wrong spelling, so we cannot. Uh, we have to proofread the resume again and again to omit all the grammatical and spelling errors. All right. So Vani, just if you have anything extra to say, like before we move on to resume reviewals, you can add on.
Yeah, sure. It's a very big pet peeve if you do spelling mistakes in a resume. So, like, read through your resume like 5 times before you show to anyone else, because it's very embarrassing when people point out that you have done this mistake. And also format your resume very clearly, because sometimes you are writing your resume in MS Word and then you make a PDF of it, so the alignment might go a little wrong. So be careful of that as well, and always go through your resume whenever you submit it. So always look through it before it, and if you want to update it, do so, and keep regularly updating your resume, because if in an emergency you have to give a resume, like let's suppose the TMP coordinator has said that okay, you need to give your resume by 2 p.m. and you reach home by 2:30, so you always have a resume handy and updated with you. Yeah, Adi, that's it. I think we can move to the live resume reviews with.
All right, so we'll be resuming six resumes we received. I have tried to hide all the credentials. So let's start with the first resume we have. Is it shared?
Yes, they it is.
So it is a two-pager resume. So I've collaged the image.
Yeah, so like first of all, the biggest mistake is that making it to two resume and the font is too big. Like it should not be that big. And also, once you're writing female 18 Hindi English, that's something that is quite irrelevant, because you should be mentioning things like your email or your LinkedIn or your GitHub when you are giving your resume for an internship. And about the objective, it's just that sometimes it's not required when it's making your resume a little longer. So you can skip on the objective part if you think that your resume is going beyond one page. And making columns and tables is good, but if you are seeing that okay, this is making my resume longer, you should definitely avoid that. Also, okay, I'm reading through it. About the percentage thing, they have written that they're pursuing it. So instead of it, they can just write an NA right now, because I think they are in their first semester. And about the bullet points thing, please don't use ticks and these fancy bullet points. Just use a full circle for that. I think this is made by MS Office, right? If I'm not wrong. Okay. And about a resume, you can definitely skip on the interest and the personal details and contact address and references, because this is a very old way of writing a resume, because usually people don't ask about personal details or references right now. So if you are giving your resume for an internship, definitely you can skip through the interests and personal details part, and you can just write about your educational qualifications and skills. It's all right if you don't have anything to mention in your resume right now. I know it might make you think that there's a lot of white space in it, but at least don't mention anything irrelevant in the resume, because it might be very off-putting for the interviewer who's going through your resume and is seeing things that are not relevant to the profile that you're applying for.
I believe rightly so. Vani, we have someone who has uploaded a resume in a PDF format. Maybe go through that and probably you can suggest what's your opinion on it.
Yeah, I'm going through it. I have downloaded it. Okay.
Wonderful.
I think personal profile can be skipped, because if you write your education section first, it would be very evident that you're a first year student studying in whatever branch you are. So you can skip the personal profile part and put education up instead. Yeah, see, you have put education in the very bottom, so it's not advisable to do so. Also, you haven't written any percentage anywhere. Projects.
Right.
The
I
bullet
think
points can be definitely reduced in the projects. Yes, please continue.
one thing is that it's completely missing power words and action verbs, right? For example,
Yes.
if you created a catalog app which is classes and UI based, make sure you mention a little bit about what you did. Led a team of 5 individuals to complete it, developed it. Developed is a good verb. Engaged, improved. These words need to be added. Not add to cart functionality is just a single phrase, a couple of words. You could have written. Developed and led add to cart functionality, and that's the thing. Plus back it with an evidence how it helped. That did it help in getting x many users, did it help in getting this much, so that evidence or statistics will just make that achievement look really interesting.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
also about the links, you have written here. So what you can do is you can embed the links in the project name itself, which would be, very logical to do so instead of writing here, because it doesn't make any sense like writing here. So embed your links in the project name instead. Also skills you can put on a little bit of like bottom line instead of education. So skills and education should definitely swap. Also putting your Instagram is not very a good way in a resume, so you can skip that part.
Unless you're a
Also,
marketer, right? Unless you're a
yeah,
marketer.
or maybe if you are trying to get into the design field and you have an Instagram profile where you showcase your work, then that makes sense. But if you are trying to get an internship at Microsoft or Google, your Instagram doesn't help in any way, so you can skip that. Also, you have written tools and skills separately. You can combine it into one thing only. Like under skills, you can write Flutter as your, like your development skill, and Python as your language. And then in the tools section, you can write Git, GitHub, Android Studio, and VS Code.
Right.
Also,
And I think Vani, you can probably we have to review more of those. So
yeah,
let's keep.
just last thing, that with the amount of things that you had to write here, you can just go on with a single column resume only instead of a double column one. Okay, Dee, we can skip to the next resume.
No, so I was wondering, just we let's give preference to people who fill the Google form first, and then we can go on and check the people who are uploading their resumes there, right? So people who uploaded the Google forms, let's give preference to them.
All right. So we asked them to, if they are willing to hide their identity, they can. Otherwise, they can share. So people have shared there, and I hope there is no issue. I've tried to hide their contact details. So I'm sharing the screenshots of the people who shared their resumes with us over form.
Right. We have Riyansh Gupta. You can. I'm not sure whether Riyansh is on the call. Riyansh, are you there on the call? You can probably raise your hand if you're there, or write in the chat box. All right. I don't think he's here. Let's go to the other resume. Yeah, Nezuko, I believe.
I think it's more of a fictional resume, so I don't find any, you know, productive in reviewing a resume that is not of a real person.
Yeah, I think it's better if we go on Manvika Gupta and Anushka Agarwal. I think they are in the call as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, definitely. I suppose that they have added all the fictional names but to hide their names, I guess.
Maybe. um, so
Then
I'm
that
reviewing
just
Manvika's resume right now.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. So LinkedIn, phone number, and okay, email ID. That's good to go. You can add GitHub as well if you have some contributions on GitHub. About the education thing, when you're writing the year like from and to, keep the formatting same, because right now you have written December 22, August 21, first year, and then you're writing 2020, 2018. So try to keep that formatting same for the years that you're writing. Like in your work experience, you have kept the same formatting, so it's looking very good. About the work experience thing, Google Cloud Quick Labs should not be there because you weren't employed by them. So experiences should only have the things where you were earning some money or were employed by a company. Same for the intern shala thing. You can definitely add these things in achievements or certifications, but in work experience they don't go well. Like the intern will thing that I've written. it's good to go in the experience part. About your project, first you have written augmented reality, like it doesn't explain what the project is. So instead, you could have written Harry Potter theme spark ya filter. That would have been better suited name for the project. Also, you can shorten the bullet points like I've written. Furthermore, I had a lot of new experiences with augmented reality, which I think can be skipped. Uh, I think your links are clickable. So if it would be very good if you can make those links clickable in your resume, because then the recruiter can directly click and move to your project. When you're writing in a resume, na, don't write sentences like I developed. Write it in a third person way, like developed a working design in a passive voice. So in skills only, like I said, you can do the bifurcation thing right now. And the languages thing, it can be skipped. Sentences can be constructed in a better way because in the achievements thing you have written reality hack 21 online hackathon conducted by Meta placed me in the top 10 out of 500 competitors. So instead you can write it as way that selected as one of the top 10 winners out of the 500 competitors in reality hacks 21, an online hackathon conducted by Meta. So write the numbers before and then write the whole detail about it, because when I'm reading the resume, in while reading the sentence only, I'm like, okay, let's skip it till the time I come to the numbers. So that's important that you write the numbers before you write the description. Positions of- okay. Um, all the positions of your responsibility are non-technical right now, so it's completely okay if you mention them in a scholarship or a fellowship resume. But if you want to submit this resume to a technical internship, then I'd suggest that try to put in some position of responsibility which has a certain technical aspect to it. So yeah, I think that's all with this resume. Should we move to the next one? Ojasvi, Di, Arushi, Di, are you
Yes,
here?
definitely, definitely.
Okay, so next I can see Anushka's resume. Anushka, you can definitely go with a single column one if you make your name smaller, and you can skip with the image because like 99% of the companies don't require image, but the TNP still asks you to make a one just in case some company asks for it. So um okay, ठीक है skills है. Okay, since you are in first time you can't write the percentage. Courses. Courses can be definitely put under the projects thing, like put after the projects thing. Sorry, I was saying under experience. The things that I've written as work experience, they should actually be in the positions of responsibility, because these are the things that are not paying you or are employing you, but you are doing it as a responsible member of this community. About your projects, you should definitely mention the links, and also the description is not very intuitive, that it doesn't make you understand that okay what your project was all about. I'm sorry for the disturbance. The achievements are good to go if you want to give this resume for a scholarship, because it mentions that you have taken test for Japanese level language and you know Japanese, which is a very good thing to learn. But if you are giving it in a in a technical internship, then you can just write about the Harvard V Code conference scholar and then write about the IEEE one. And okay, these two things you can write about personal details. In the personal details, you should definitely skip about the gender, date of birth, and nationality because nobody asked that. And keep it relevant and only put in your email, LinkedIn, and website address, and phone number should be skipped as well, because if you hand out your resume or post it publicly, people might get your personal details, and there might be case there people might try to stalk you, like it had happened with me. So I'll suggest not to put phone number or address in your resumes at all. In skills you have written generic. Instead, you should have written soft skills, because the things that I've written are quite good, but it should be under a very better heading. Like generic के अलावा आप लिख सकते हो soft skills. Interests you can skip. You can just put in AI or ML under your skills if you know, or you can just skip it. Also, with the amount of things that you have to write, I think one single column resume should work. Ayushidi, should we go to next one?
Right.
And the skills only. I told you to not rank the skills because then the interviewer would have certain expectations that okay, you're very proficient in that skill if you're writing an intermediate to your Python skills. Okay, and soft skills are good speaker, active listener, time management. Try to write something which is not very generic because active listener, good speaker, these are very generic terms. So try to avoid these things and write something which makes your resume look more impactful. Right now, your resume is also missing links that are like your email and GitHub and LinkedIn. So you should definitely put that in. So I think you're from first year, so it's alright if you don't have a lot of things to write in, but the ones that I have discussed today, you can definitely put that up. And I hope that your resume gets better with time.
That's about it in terms of the number of resumes that people have uploaded. I think off topic we have a question by Ayush. She says that I'm having doubt that I'm a first year student and I chose Java as my language, but facing FOMO because of peer pressure, all of them are using C++. Should I switch or not?
Don't worry, a lot of people would be switching to Java as well because industries do use Java, a lot of them instead of C++. So it's great if you are picking up Java, and a lot of open source projects are in Java instead of C++. So you're definitely good going with Java, and it's a great language. Even though I use C++, but I definitely prefer if people start with Java because it's an easy to learn language. And also there's a lot of scope in Java. Like you can do open source, you can do Android development, you can do, a lot of things. Even the web development backend is also in Java, like the Spring framework. So a lot of use cases for this language.
And I think one important thing is that irrespective of the language, right? Whenever you do sit for interviews, they look at your problem solving skills and approach to solving a problem. A language is just a medium to solve that problem. So that's really important that your understanding of solving problems is number one.
Yes, exactly. Like it doesn't matter whatever language you use. The thing that matters is that you should have a good problem solving skill if you want to back a good internship.
Right. Okay, we can take one last resume and close the session. Anusha, can you quickly upload it immediately? We'll take one last resume. Yeah. If you can upload it in the next 20 seconds, we are good to go. Otherwise, I think we've already exhausted our time limit.
Yeah, and also I initially planned to talk about LinkedIn and profile, but the things that I suggested for the resumes, it also goes the same for LinkedIn. Keep it updated and keep it concise. Don't write irrelevant things. And you can talk to me personally if you want to get some more LinkedIn and personal portfolio tips. But yeah, one very crucial advice is that don't mention your phone number or address anywhere on any social media site or on your resume because there's a very good chance that people might try to stalk you. It has
Correct.
happened with me, so I'm, giving a heads up to everyone present
Right.
here.
And I think we are having a amazing session on power of networking and LinkedIn, where speaker who has amassed a lot of followers on LinkedIn. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be happening next weekend. But yeah, do mention, guys, if you enjoyed this session on the event talks text channel. We'd love to hear whether you like these kind of sessions, and we'd love to understand whether it's good. Yeah. And we have, I think, a screenshot of. Is Kunal here in the session?
I'm reading through the resume. So
Yeah,
again, ranking the skills is not a very wise thing to do. Also, remove your phone number. And the LinkedIn link should definitely be shortened. These irrelevant numbers should be removed. Uh, okay. In the score, you can just write NA because if you are in first year rather than pursuing, working on a to-do list tab. Even if you're currently working for a project, please mention the link to the project and the code base because the interviewer would be definitely interested to check your code base.
right.
Accomplishments. Um, First of all, 12th, that is misspelled, so please correct it. And the first position thing is not quite relevant in college because please, you are in college right now, so move on from your school achievements, even if you are in first year, because in college you start from scratch. So it's better to not mention school achievements here. Okay, so is it a two-page resume or am I just seeing it because of screenshot? I think the last page came up accidentally. So yeah, languages can be definitely skipped. It's good to put in languages only when you're applying for an international opportunity. Like let's suppose if you're applying in Germany or in Spain where they require you to have a certain level of understanding of their language. So instead of these opportunities, languages should not be present in the resume. And the additional things can be differently skipped, like I have taught students or I have mentored people. You can write that in your positions of responsibility, but certainly not under a category named additionals, which doesn't showcase anything productive. So yeah, that's about the resume, and the achievements are good to go. Like the percentile can also be skipped, but the 5 stars and the 2 star ranking that you have in your first year only, it shows that you are trying to code and can be a good fit for a scholarship or a fellowship.
Right.
Um, I think that's it, right?
Close on the session. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining in. We loved having you. Thank you so much, Vani, for taking out the time today and addressing so many doubts and questions of everybody. Really appreciated. Folks who are still there would love to hear your feedback on the channel, text channel. We'd love to understand whether you would like these kind of sessions and whether you'd want more of these kind of sessions. And yeah, we'll stay for another 10-20 seconds. Post that, we'll end the stage or close on this. Thank you so much, Vani, for your time today and your abundance of experience helping these kids out. Yeah.
Thank you, Dee, for inviting. It was really fun to review resumes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Sure, you can drop from the call, Vani. We'll take it from here. Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Piyush, for your lovely comments. Thanks, Bhavya. Thanks, Anushka. Thanks, Anushka. We really appreciate the positive feedback. It helps us feel motivated and wish to do more of these kind of sessions. Our intent is to create a meaningful impact in each of your lives. So happy to impart some knowledge today. And yeah, would love to hear more feedback if you guys have any. And thank you so much for joining today.